Welcome to Wesley Impact. I'm Keith Garner. How important is it to support farmers all year round? I'm glad you've chosen to join us today. For anyone watching in Australia today, we know all too well some of the hardships and struggles that our farmers face year in and year out. It seems that those who work on the land are continually battling the challenges of weather, such as drought, flood and fires, and having to deal with the commercial pressure of large supermarket chains to provide their produce at cheaper prices. One organisation which is working with our farmers and people living in the outback and rural communities is the work of the Uniting Church through Frontier Services. We'll be joined later in the show by Jannine Jackson, who has been involved in that work. We've spoke to her before. I'm going to ask her to update us on her work and tell us what things are coming up in the near future. We'll also be joined by Nikki Fletcher, who will sing an original song with the Wesley Impact Band called All Glory. And I'll share some thoughts on those things which can cause us to be anxious. We'll find Jesus referring to nature and wildlife to make some very powerful points about the priorities of the kingdom of God, which are so different from what most people put at the centre of their lives. Regular viewers of this programme will be familiar with the various areas of our work in which we present each week through short pieces which we offer to you. When selecting the videos to play, we take care to ensure we provide a wide cross-section of our work. Occasionally, we combine the videos into one short clip, and this provides yet another perspective on our work. Let's take a look at a compilation of some of the stories that we seek to present as we work with people at Wesley Mission.
It's really hard to tell people that you've got this pain and you can't function properly. So at the end of the day, it was just too much.
I wouldn't wish this on anybody. You know, one day you got a life and one day your life is hell.
Wesley Eagle Lodge has been running since about 1979. That it provides crisis accommodation for men and women. Not uncommon to meet people who have been rough sleeping for 10 years. Our commitment to you is a promise not to pull the rug from under you, and if you meet us halfway, together we're going to make sure that your next move is forward. Homeless people are easily amongst the most vulnerable in our community. Such a big part of our work is holding onto that hope when people won't or can't. We need to believe that they can have a home of their own and a community in which they can belong.
It's been a rough trip. And there are some people out there in the system that care.
My father had recently passed away. I turned to gambling to try and relieve that tension that I was feeling. The more money I earned, the more money I gambled. I really felt a need to change.
At the end of their journey with Wesley Mission, I simply want them to be empowered to take control of their lives. I want them to be able to make choice consciously.
My life since coming to Wesley Mission for counselling has improved out of sight.
Every moment that I wasn't working, I was getting into the pub to play the machine. I started getting depressed. I started feeling mentally incapacitated. I was just gambling and not living.
Wesley Mission's Gambling Counselling Service meets a broad range of needs in a client.
I don't have a lot of anxiety anymore. I'm living, and that's what it is, living a life that's fruitful.
I volunteer at Lifeline because I consider each person equal and I view people all as important. That person that calls through needs to be valued as someone that's as important as the Prime Minister, important as the Premier, important as anyone in society. A caller can be your neighbour. It could be someone from an affluent part of society, or it can come from a poor part of society. There is no typical caller. It can be anyone. So it's not just people that are down and out, and it's also not people that are always suicidal. It may be people that are lonely, people that need to talk to someone, people that need just an ear to listen.
If you would like to learn more about Wesley Mission, visit wesleymission.org.au. You can find help in our community services, connect with our church and congregations, discover a volunteer role that suits you, stay up to date on the latest news and information, donate to support our work, and help make a positive difference in your community. You can also connect with us on social media and subscribe to receive the latest news and information about Wesley Mission directly into your inbox. Visit wesleymission.org.au.
Please don't hesitate to reach out and be in touch with us if we can help you or a loved one in any way. Or if you'd like to know more information about the work that we do all year round. The contact details are on the screen now. Jannine Jackson's from Frontier Services and is our guest today. I'm delighted that you're here again to join us, Jannine.
Oh, I'm delighted to be here.
I asked the question earlier in the show about the importance of farmers and people, or should we call them people who work on the land, because there are many all year round. How hard is it for people like that?
Look, at the moment, the Australian environment is experiencing stuff that we haven't experienced for a long time. So the drought, there are farms that are probably in their 6th or 7th year of continuous drought, and it's probably worse than the millennial drought. It's not just drought that's affecting them. There's floods, fires. We're sort of seeing some stuff at unprecedented rates.
And it's very easy to, when you talk about 6 or 7 years, it's very easy to focus on it. If there's a big news story, the ABC or Channel 9 or whoever are putting a story out tonight, and so therefore it's there. Everybody has a whip round, they do things, and that's the end of the story. But it's not, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, I don't know many people who would be able to survive from a small business perspective without any input for 6 or 7 years, or to be able to produce anything for 6 or 7 years, regardless of how good a farmer you actually are. And it will be the end of the drought where they will actually really financially struggle.
And as Christian people, really, droughts are a very biblical thing. When I think of the Old Testament, that they had floods, but they also had droughts. And so it's quite natural for us to want to be concerned about people, isn't it?
And these are real people, and real people struggling, not just to make a living, but also when times are tough is when they're actually really busy and become even more socially isolated than when times are good.
Jannine, you were telling me earlier that you've got something like 14 chaplaincy teams around Australia that go out and they have a big circuit, as it were, don't they, of places that they go to. Tell us about some of those.
Look, we're really blessed. We've got the most incredible people as bush chaplains out doing visits to graziers and people that live in remote Australia. And it's amazing the difference, turning up on the doorstep at the right time makes to people that are really feeling cut off or socially isolated. And they can spend weeks at a time going from property to call in and see how people are doing.
And sometimes people live so far from the next person, don't they?
It can take 20 minutes to get from one door to the next. And, people in the city, I don't think, kind of realise how big those distances can actually be.
How important is it that in Australia that we actually get a handle on this properly as a country?
I think we've become really disconnected from where our food comes from. As we live in a 24/7 environment, and we expect things to be, menu log and all sorts of things, apps that I can get my food delivered. I think we've become a little bit disconnected from where our food actually comes from and what's involved in actually producing it. And on the other side, those people that are producing it are feeling disconnected from those in Metro because they don't understand the struggles that they're actually going through.
How do these people, if they're Christian people, and there are so many hours where they can get to a church, how do they, is the chaplains, is there a spiritual context to those?
Oh, absolutely there is. Church is done in a very different way often. The pub at times becomes the church, and the congregations are smaller or different, but very much a spiritual place. And I can tell you, if you stand in the middle of the outback, you can feel his presence.
And tell me what you get out of the work, because I always like to ask people who are involved in Christian agencies and organisations, what do you get out of it?
an incredible life affirmation. There is nothing, I don't think there's anything better for the soul than knowing that you're helping or just the fact that you're actually making a difference to somebody by being there. Just the fact that we're showing up and showing that we care can mean the difference to somebody today and tomorrow. That's what it's all about.
This isn't all government money, is it? It requires people to be engaged as individuals, as families and churches.
Look, we don't get any government money. It is pretty much the generosity of the Uniting Church congregations and individuals that fund this incredible work. And we have an army of incredible volunteers that also give up their time and talents to help those that are struggling as well.
Well, thanks for giving us an update on it. Thanks for giving us that insight into the fact that, what is it that really energises you?
I love what I do. I love the fact that I have the opportunity to work for an organisation like Frontier Services that is spreading the love through real practical ways and reaching out to people, and that human connection and actually really showing that we care. I think for me, we lose a little bit of that with technology, and there is nothing that beats that face-to-face sit-down over a cuppa to really show that you actually care about someone.
Jannine, that's Frontier Services. So if you're looking for somewhere to support from your church as individuals, get onto the website, see the links that we'll be making after the show, and let's really try to affirm those people who are seeking to show the love of Christ in real practical ways. I reckon we're brothers and sisters because word and deed is what drives us, and certainly that's something that's real. We'll turn our attention now to Nikki Fletcher, who's joining Craig and the band to sing All Glory.
How great is your love that never gives up on me.
Experience the Galilee and the towns and cities where Jesus was raised and called his home. Capernaum, Nazareth, Tabgha, Magdala, Caesarea Philippi, Bethsaida, Tiberias, and of course the Sea of Galilee all feature in this 6-part series as Keith Garner explains the first century context of biblical events.
Jesus was born during a time of change in the political and economic leadership of this region. Fishermen around a lakeside was really one of the big businesses. Why Jesus? Why didn't people ignore him? Why did they take him seriously? And what are the questions we should be asking today if we're going to take Jesus seriously?
The Man of Galilee is available now and comes with a study guide for leaders, small groups and individuals. For more, visit wesleymission.org.au.
Jesus had a real connection with people and a real concern about the everyday anxiety and worries that people lived under and with. It's interesting that he's talking to disciples about worry. You know, you'd expect him to talk about many things, but he talked to them about worry. He's something to say to all of us, including those who live in the isolated parts of our great country, such as came out in that conversation just a few moments ago with Jannine, in this country that is so large and yet can be so remote and isolated for people. I'm going to read from Luke chapter 12, verses 22 through to 31. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothes. Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They have no storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable are you than the birds? Who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to your life? Since you cannot do this very little thing, why do you worry about the rest? Consider how the wildflowers grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that's how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? And do not set your heart on what you will eat or drink. Do not worry about it. For the pagan world runs after all such things, and your Father knows that you need them. But seek his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well." Now, there seems to me to be a basic principle that underpins the fact that we should not be filled with worry or anxiety. And it's this, that life is more important than things. And if we live in a world where things become all important, then we're going to be anxious, aren't we? But when things get into perspective and we see the real secret and meaning of life, then things take on a totally different way. Food and clothes represent this. That's why we read it quite directly in verse 23. We read these words, "For life is more than food, and the body more than clothes." Now, I live at the centre of a city, and I'd be forgiven for thinking that as I walk up a city street, that life is all about buying things, about clothes, and about so much extravagance. Jesus says it's not. He talks also about the fruitlessness of worry. Verse 25 exposes that thought when we read this. Who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to your life? You can't do anything about it. If you worry, are you going to make life that bit longer? No. If you worry, you're going to make it shorter. Well, there's a chance you will through ill health. So why worry? And the reality of all this is made clear in the verse that follows verse 25, in verse 26. Since you cannot do this very little thing, why do you worry about the rest? If you can't make life longer by worry, why worry about anything? Why do we allow the collection of things we call our lives to combine in such a way that they have a dominant hold upon us? It would be so easy, wouldn't it, for people who live in remote places in this wonderful Australia to worry about when is it next going to rain. Well, that can't be determined by them. And if they can get that in perspective, surely it leaves those of us that live in cities with so much around us to put in perspective the things that we should be concerned about. One lovely writer, Joanna Weaver, wrote a book entitled Having a Mary Heart in a Martha World, of course using that wonderful passage in Luke as the starting point. She concluded in a very poignant way, concern draws us to God, worry pulls us from him. That thought is a very real one, isn't it? That worry is something that might drive us away from God, not bring us close, might make us feel so anxious that we become dominated, turned in, insular in the way that we look at life. We must make the positive choice of trust in life. So that becomes the positive antidote to anxiety. We need something that is it speaks against. I enjoyed our guests today, but I've enjoyed so many guests that I've had on this programme. I recall interviewing George Verwer. Now, George Verwer founded Operation Mobilisation, and they had their wonderful ships that went around the world, and they were involved in helping people in so many places. He wrote a devotional piece which declared this: I do not believe in worry because I believe in God's place of rest. I love that thought. The reason why we don't worry is that God has given us a new vision, a new purpose, and a new rest. Rest is one of those wonderful truths of the Old Testament. God brought the people who were under his guidance to a place of rest. And we find rest in Jesus Christ. And I would be saying, of all the things that we can pastorally do to help people whose lives are filled with anxiety, is to say to them, there is a place of quiet rest near to the heart of God. May we know what it is to put our trust and hope in him and not find ourselves filled with worry, filled with anxiety and crushed by those things, but brought close through the peace and love of God.
If you would like to contact Keith and find out more about today's program, write to us at Wesley Mission, Post Office Box A 5555, Sydney South 1235, or you can send us an email to impacttv@wesleymission.org.au. On our website, you can catch up on past episodes of Wesley Impact, find out more about our work, read online magazines and articles, and connect with us on social media. You can also connect through Keith's blog and stay up to date on all the latest news and information from Wesley Mission, wesleymission.org.au.
Don't hesitate to be in touch if we can be of help to you or a loved one in any way. The details are on the screen once again. There's something always happening at the life of Wesley Mission. Let's take a look together.
The annual City to Serve is on today. It's a great day out and a wonderful opportunity to help Wesley Mission raise funds for our many homelessness services. The Wesley Monthly Stall is on again this coming Thursday. Come and grab yourself a bargain from one of the many specialty stalls. Delicious cakes and sweets, retro clothing and jewellery will all be on sale. This year, the Wesley Monthly Stalls are supporting our work with the homeless at Wesley Edward Eager Lodge. Wesley Mission is holding a Wills Day on Thursday the 29th of August at the Penrith RSL Club, where you can have your will professionally prepared by an independent solicitor from as little as $60. Bookings are essential, so please visit wesleymission.org.au/wills to reserve your appointment. Wesley Life Force will be holding their annual Sydney Suicide Memorial Service on Thursday the 12th of September at the Sydney Opera House to remember those who have been lost to suicide.
Thank you for being part of the programme and sharing this time with us today. I hope you found those thoughts about Jesus' priorities helpful. It may be that worry and anxiety are part of your experience, and if they are, I hope that what we said might have touched you with hope and with confidence. Added to that, we had an interesting conversation about the work of Frontier Services. I always enjoy hearing about the work of others and those who are prepared to roll up their sleeves and get involved in helping other people. Do join us again next week for another episode of Wesley Impact TV. Thank you and God bless you.
Wesley Mission walks alongside people of all ages struggling with homelessness, addictions, mental health issues and financial stress. To find out more, visit wesleymission.org.au.